Listening to Behind the Music Podcast, a podcast that features the best musicians in Southern gospel music, with your host, Josh Griffin.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 16 of Behind the Music Podcast with our special guest today, Mr. Les Butler. Mr. Les, thank you for being here tonight. I'm glad to have you on, sir.
Thank you, Josh. Good to be here. Thank you for asking me. I don't know why you would ask me. There's a whole bunch of people you could have asked. But thank you for asking me.
As talented as you are, and we'll get into that a little further, all the instruments you play and what all have you done in Southern gospel music, I'd be crazy not to get you on here.
Well, you're way too kind. Thank you for that, though.
Oh, goodness. Mr. Les, let's start right into it. Go ahead and give a little, if anybody's never heard of, which I'm sure they have, but if they haven't heard of Mr. Les Butler, go ahead and give a little brief introduction of Mr. Les Butler and your family, and then we'll just kick it off from there, sir.
Okay. Well, I was born April 29th, 1962. I was born in the Southern gospel capital of America, Gary, Indiana. I'm kidding about that.
That's right. Yeah.
That's actually, not that I'm proud about this, but the murder capital of America. So how I made it out alive is beyond me. And how, matter of fact, and I don't mean to be pitching stuff, but it just ties in. Yeah. This book right here, I just finished writing that book, and it's about your question, about the story of how somebody born and raised in Gary, Indiana would grow up to be the publisher of the Singing News magazine, run the Solid Gospel Radio Network, own the Old Time Preachers Quaret, own Real Southern Gospel Radio Network, host a Bluegrass Gospel show. None of that equals Gary, Indiana, you know? And, but all I could say is that was the hand of God just orchestrated the whole thing. Yeah. And but April 29th, 1962, was born and raised there, and learned how to play my first instrument in 1967. Played the piano for the first time in 1971. And I played multiple instruments, but the piano is my main instrument, and that's where I've been able to make a living playing the piano for recordings and with various groups and, that kind of stuff. God's blessed that for sure. Yes, sir. Not that I'm the best piano player, because I got a long list of piano players that I'll never play on the same stage as. It ain't going to happen. I'm not going to embarrass myself that badly. Yeah. But you have to pardon my voice. I got something going on. But then let's see, I started in radio in Southern Gospel. Well, I started in radio in 1976, Southern Gospel Radio in 1978. Yeah. And I've been on the air ever since in Southern Gospel Radio. And this is 2025. So that's a long time. So that's kind of a history there. I'm married for 43 years. 2 kids, daughter, son, Amber and Matt, and granddaughter Lainey, and that's about it for the family side, I guess. And that's a very fast rundown for 63 years. But I did the best I could there.
Speaking of your family, right quick, Matt Butler, I'm friends with him on Facebook. Phenomenal musician, phenomenal bass player, and I see some of his gear on there sometimes. I'm like, goodness, over here coveting about it, but know.
He's a far better music guy than I am. And I don't mean that just to be braggadocious about my son and all that. I'm just,
you're just being truthful. Yeah.
Oh my word. He's just completely on another level in so many areas of music, especially the bass, but acoustic guitar is just really something else.
That's right.
Mandolin and engineering. Yeah. And he blew by his dad a long time ago. Very thankful for that, though.
Oh, goodness. Well, Mr. Les, if you don't mind, talk a little bit, if you will, how you got into Southern Gospel. Did you start out as a fan and then worked your way up to that point, if you don't mind?
Yeah, my parents, though I was born in Gary, Indiana, my dad worked at U.S. Steel in Gary, Indiana, which is, we jumped on the L train and we were in Chicago in 20 minutes. So, basically we were in Chicago. Mm-hmm. But both of my parents were born and raised in East Kentucky, Moorhead and Olive Hill. Way up in the mountains and way up a holler and all of that. So they're their music influences it was mountain music and bluegrass country. And both of my parents came from godly families and churches. And so it was, hymn singing out of a hymn book. And this is way before the redback church hymnal. I'm talking about old books.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where the gospel influence came in at. And so when there was a thing called the Canaan Record Club, Canaan Records, which was the Canaan Record and Heartwarming of Benson were the two labels in the 60s and 70s that brought all Southern gospel music to America, to homes in America. And there was a thing called the Canaan Record Club, and my parents joined that club. So every month they would send an album out that was the album of the month. It could be the Happy Goodmans, it could be the Cathedrals, it could be the Kingsmen, it could be Wendy Bagwell and the Sunlighters, could be the Lewis Family, Jimmy Davis, Florida Boys, Inspirations, on and on and on and on. And so the new album that month would come in, and they would just get that, put it on the turntable. And that's when in 1971, they purchased an old upright piano. And that piano was up there by our stereo system, which was a great big old piece of furniture. It was literally 5 feet long, 3 feet in the air. It had a big, thing that you opened up like a coffin.
Yeah.
And there was a turntable in there, and you could put 5 albums, stack 5 albums deep on the turntable. And once one album would play, then the second one would pop down, the third one would pop down. And so I put 5 Canaan albums up there as a 9-year-old boy, and started playing the piano along with all those albums. Goodness. And I was stealing everybody's licks and stealing what they did. And that's how I learned how to play, was from the Canaan Record Club and those albums.
Right. That's right. And I do that now with a Bluetooth speaker in my phone, play bass on,
Yeah.
That's about the best way to do it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's how I learned everything. I mean, guitar, mandolins, dobros, bass, just whatever. It was playing with those records, but especially the piano.
Yeah, that's right. And since you're talking about there, how many instruments do you know how to play? Because I know you just
none of them any good. None of them any good, but I do play at, I don't know, I think it's like 12 or 13.
Goodness, yeah. And I'll mention this too, people that can do that, they got to be smart. You know what I'm saying? Just to switch from one to the other without having to think about, stop and think about it, just go with it. That's intelligent.
No, you don't have to. No, you don't. I've dispelled that rumor. I promise you that.
Well, I guess too, you also had a desire to learn it too. That probably helped out a bunch as well,
Yeah, I did. I loved it, man. I loved it. I was around it all the time. My parents had music playing all the time. My dad played guitar. He showed me my first chords, G, C, and D. And it was just, there was music going on all the time, 7 days a week.
That's right. That's right. Do you remember your first Southern gospel music concert you attended?
I'm not 100% sure of this by any stretch.
Yeah.
It'd be one of two things. I remember a very, very, very early NQC in Memphis when I was very young. Yeah. Maybe somewhere between 5 and 7. I remember the Oak Ridge Quartet, the Spears, the Lefevres, and so it was either that or at a church just outside of Gary. Well, no, it was in Gary, Indiana. The Singing Echoes came up, and so that would be one of the. It's one of those two, and I can't tell you exactly which one.
Right, that's right. Also speaking about instruments, well, somebody on Facebook had asked, what is your favorite song to play on the piano? That's from Mr. David Harrell on Facebook.
Well, favorite song.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pick one. Well, I tell you what, I often get asked to play my instrumental version of Keep on the Firing Line.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I do love playing that. So I guess maybe it would be that.
Yeah.
I like the country stylings too, because that came from the Eastern Kentucky mountain area, that country piano sound, Floyd Kramer, that kind of thing. And I play a version of What a Friend We Have in Jesus in that style. That's just a very peaceful, calm, beautiful style that I like to play on that one. Right. And so I'd say one of those two, Keep on the Firing Line or What a Friend We Have in Jesus.
Yes, gotcha. Oh, speaking of that as well, we're right here at it. The Real Deal Band, instrumental album. Who all was the players on that one? I know you was in there as well, and I think you told me maybe Adam Borden was in there as well playing bass on some of that.
Yeah. My son and Adam, I think, played all the bass stuff. I'm going to miss some people, man. I'm going to miss some people. I wasn't ready for that question.
Yeah,
but I'll get some of them. Jared Easter played steel.
Yeah.
Kelly Back played some of the guitars. Jeremy Medcalf played some of the guitars.
Yeah.
I think Rob Tripp played some before he went home to be with the Lord. Yeah. Let me see. What am I missing? Ben Rochester played some dobro and some fiddle. Yes. Jeff Talbert played some on it. And I'm going to miss a bunch of stuff, man. I'm sorry to everybody that I'm missing. There was a whole bunch of folks on there.
Yeah.
And I thought it turned out pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Very good. All-star lineup. Yeah. Probably my favorite track off that, I've Never Been Sorry. I loved y'all's version of that. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Little swing version of it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Very good stuff. We do that one at church a good bit. Page 114 in the key of A flat. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. That is good stuff. Yes, sir. Mr. Les, is there any groups maybe that you played with before you got into while you was on radio, before you got the solid gospel gig or singing those gig? Is there any groups that you played with back in the day?
Well, the very first group I played with, and this wasn't full time, this was the very first time I played with a professional group ever. Yes. And the story is this going back to the Singing Echoes. Yeah. They were in Gary, and Debbie got sick and was on the bus. And so I think it was Gary that got up and said, anybody in this church that can play Southern gospel piano? And I was, I think somewhere between 9 and 12.
Yep.
And my dad jumped up and said, my boy can. I'm like, oh, Dad, what have you done to me? So here I go soldering up there. And I played with the Singing Echoes. And now I didn't say I played well with them, but I played with the Singing Echoes.
How about that?
They seemed to enjoy it and all that. But so that was my first time I played with a professional group. But I've toured.
Down here, our burdens are heavy, and the road gets rough and long. Sometimes my feet get weary and so sore. Oh, but a brighter day is coming. Soon I'll step on heaven's shore, and I won't have to worry anymore.
Noon and night, care not for, trusted God who said, Creole Daniel pray every morning, noon and night.
I've never toured full time with anyone other than whenever I started the Old Time Preachers Quartet.
Yep.
But I've done like summer tours and things like that, and extended tours with, the Hoppers, the Kingsmen, Palmetto State Quartet, Crab Family back in their early days.
Yes. Yep.
I'm missing some folks. I've traveled with a whole bunch of folks.
Yep.
Chuck Wagon Gang, I did a summer tour with them where I didn't play the piano. I played mandolin and dobro and acoustic guitar with them. They were doing a bunch of outdoor concert events and bluegrass festivals and all that. And they needed someone a little on the grassy side. And so I toured an entire summer and fall with them.
Yeah, goodness. Speaking of playing with the Kingsmen, I know one video on YouTube played, "Oh, Yes, I Am" with the Kingsmen. Bob Sellers, Randy Crawford, Chris Jenkins, Rating Race. And I could hear those piano licks in there too. That was good stuff, man. Yeah.
Thank you. I did. Now, I've done a bunch of tours with them.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of different dates with them. A whole bunch of Dollywood dates for several years.
Yes.
NQC dates and church dates and all that. I've done a bunch of things with the Kingsmen.
Yeah. And a lot of people know it already. That's my favorite group of all time, the Kingsmen. So I'm a huge Kingsmen fan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, boy, I hope you've been listening to Real Southern Gospel this month at Squire Parsons month.
Yes. And I appreciate
loading
you
the
doing
wagon
that.
up.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. And since we're right here at it, go ahead and speak about that. What gave you the desire to do that? And I'm telling you, you're doing a great job with it. I love it. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, I tell you what, I was kind of noodling around with the idea before COVID hit. But when COVID hit, I mean, it hit me very bad. I was in the ICU and all that. And the doctor said I wasn't going to make it out alive. I mean, he said, prepare. Call whoever you got to call, do whatever you got to do, but you're not going to. We're ordering the vent, and nobody's left this hospital that's ever been on the vent, and so he was giving me a death sentence. But while I'm laying there in the bed for weeks in ICU and machines breathing for me and all that stuff, and it was at the peak time where I couldn't have any human interaction. My family didn't see me at all. Couldn't come in at all of that. It was, it was awful. But I'm laying there and God's just really starting to pour into my spirit all of this stuff that you now hear on the radio.
Right.
And I don't mean to sound super spiritual. I really don't.
Right.
But I knew I was getting out of there because there's just simply no way that he would feed the things that he was feeding to me.
Yeah.
And I want to die and not do it. So I knew I knew I was getting out of there. And sure enough, to God be the glory, we did. And as soon as I got out and I could, I mean, that was still weeks in the hospital or weeks at home in the bed, couldn't get out of bed, still had oxygen and all that. I mean, they basically made a hospital room out of my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I was there for months. But when I finally got through all of the stuff and I could, start to work on things, I started working on this.
Right.
And we just celebrated 3.5 years just a few days ago. That's and it's, oh my word, I just can't even tell you what's happened. It blows my mind.
That's right.
Tens of thousands of downloads with tens of thousands of individual weekly listeners.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And buddy, if you listen, I don't play the contemporary stuff of today.
Right. Yeah.
It is the straight up, gun barrel straight, biscuit eating, sweat wiping, bug eyed, vein popping, real traditional Southern gospel music with real traditional country sounds and real traditional bluegrass gospel sounds.
Yes, that's right.
And
that's right.
That's what the Lord burdened me to do for radio, because when you back then and even more so today, you turn on radio stations and you hear more of the contemporary sounds than the traditional sounds that built this place.
That's
built
right.
What we do.
Yep.
And by the way, in plain English, say I'm not at all trashing these other stations, because I've got friends that own and operate many of them, and I think they do a better job than I do. But the sound is different.
Yes.
So I'm not better. It's just we're different, man. We're different. Every hour you hear old time preaching, Every hour you hear old hymns.
Yep.
We have huge hymn blocks on Wednesday night and Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of other things that you just don't hear anywhere else. We're different, not better. We're different. And I have found that there's way more people than I thought that have been looking for what the Lord has given us to do. And
that's right.
For that, I'm immensely thankful.
Oh, yes, that's right. And like you said, the old stuff, I mean, stuff you don't even hear hardly nowhere unless you own it yourself.
Yeah.
Some of that old Squire Parsons stuff you had the other day playing. I mean, I was like, man, I ain't even got some of that stuff, but I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and half of our playlist, out of a 24-hour day, 12 hours of it is 1950 to 1999.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The other half, the other 12 hours, it's 2000 to today.
Yeah.
But only the sounds that sound like 1950 to 1999.
And see, that's good stuff. I mean, either way you cut it, that's good stuff. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, y'all are doing a phenomenal job with it. I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Then, of course, your Facebook Live videos, like you had one honoring Squire Parsons. You had one when you had Ray Dean Reese, interviewed him. A bunch of different gentlemen. Well, yeah, just great stuff. Yes, sir.
Been doing that ever since COVID too. And that took off like a rocket ship to the moon. And finally it got to the point where I've had to choose which things I need to bring, full attention to. So I'm doing far less of the Live with Les shows now.
Right. Yeah.
And way more on what we do with Real Southern Gospel Radio, as well as the other stuff that I do, producing albums, playing on albums, going out with the quartet, preaching, singing, all of that kind of stuff.
That's right. And speaking of radio, I remember when you was at Solid Gospel Radio back before it changed to Singing News Radio. And I used to could remember on Sunday afternoons, Front Porch Fellowship with Les Butler. I remember that program very well. Yeah.
I started that show in 1998. Then when I left the Singing News to start my own companies, Butler Music Group, Family Music Group, Real Southern Gospel, and so forth, I handed that baton off to Joe Mullen. So he now does Front Porch Fellowship. But I have my own Bluegrass Gospel syndicated show called Les Butler and Friends.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And speaking of your time with Solid Gospel Radio, how long was you there and what years were you there?
97 to 2016, 19 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was there, it was various positions. I ended up, so it was owned by multiple different companies. Well, it ended up being all of it being purchased by Salem Communications.
Yep.
And in the last several years that I was there, I ran the whole thing. They gave me the title of publisher of Singing News, general manager of all Southern Gospel venues, which included Singing News and the Solid Gospel Radio Network. Yeah. So I ran the network, ran the magazine for several years.
Yeah. And I remember I grew up basically back in the mid to late 90s. That's when I got started in Southern Gospel. Lived down here in South Georgia, went to the Waycross All Night Sings, That's when I first heard the Kingsmen,
Yes.
I went down there. The Nealons were on a program on that weekend, but Rex, he was at home sick under the weather, so he wasn't there. I'm pretty sure it might have been Jason Clark's dad, Dan Clark, that sang bass that weekend.
Yeah.
But I was kind of, let's just be honest, kind of mad that Rex wasn't there. I was like, man, I ain't going to get to meet Rex. And then Kingsman took the stage, and I was like, who is this,
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
But looking back now, that was a killer lineup. You had the Dub Brothers back in their heyday there, the Florida Boys, Florida Melody Boys were there. Charles, let's see, might have been Charles Johnson Revivers were there too that night, but what a great lineup.
Yeah, big lineup right there.
Yeah, oh yeah. But Waycross All Night Sing always has a special place in my heart. Yeah, that's where I got my start listening to Southern Gospel music. Yeah,
sure, you bet. Who was the Kingsman lineup then?
Back then it had been Jerry Martin, Brian Hudson, Parker, Jonathan, Ray Dean Reese, Andrew Ishii, Randy Miller may or may not been there, Greg Fox, and Jason Self. Yeah.
That's a great lineup, but let me tell you, man, go back there and check out Squire, Hamill, either Johnny Perrick or Ernie Phillips, and Ray Dean Reese, and then the live band with Anthony and everybody else. I'm sorry. They win.
Yeah. That's probably my second favorite, behind that lineup there, just because I got to see them live, which you've
Oh,
got to
I get
see.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Sure,
And,
I totally get that.
and when you was coming up, you got to see a lot of those great groups and
Oh,
quartet and all the bands as well.
oh.
Good Lord,
I think I just grew up in the greatest era for Southern gospel
Yeah.
music. Those older than me think it was the 50s and 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And boy, that was great.
Right. Yeah.
And I see all that vinyl back there.
Yeah,
A whole
yeah.
bunch of that's from that period of time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's just the beginning of it. I got way more than what you're seeing back there.
That's right. Yeah.
But man, the 70s, oh my word, the
Yeah.
bands, oh my.
Yeah.
The biggest group to influence me, period.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting in this seat today, other than the Lord's direction in my life. I'm
Yes.
sitting here because of Howard Vestal, Sam, and Rusty, the Happy
Yeah.
Goodman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The band, their 4 vocals, when they sang, it was 4 Mack trucks coming right between your eyes.
Wall of sound. Yeah.
Biggest wall of sound
Yeah.
I've yet to hear
Yeah.
anybody match them.
That's right.
They won.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's the group in particular, that one group that impacted me. Like you're talking about the Kingsmen.
Yes.
For me, it's the Happy Goodmans.
That's right.
Then that Kingsman lineup of the 70s and the cathedrals, and buddy, man, I'm good to go. And I love hundreds of different groups from various configurations throughout the decades.
Yeah.
But if I'm on an island, give me the music of those 3.
Yeah.
I'm good for a few decades. Y'all take your time coming and getting me.
I pay good money to go to that concert. Let's just be truthful about it,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I would think in today's time it would probably sell out pretty quick with the fans of today, because a lot of us younger ones, a guy that works with you, Isaac Hughes, he didn't get to see none of those, but he got to hear them later like I did. But
yeah,
that'd be great. That's pretty
cool. You need
cool.
to interview him sometime. He is he's the real deal.
And he plays bass, I know, and steel guitar. Was learning steel guitar, I guess still is, but
I guess he still is, and plays a little piano. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
But he knows Southern gospel. But
That's right.
he'll talk it till you go to bed and fall asleep. I can guarantee you that.
Oh goodness! Speaking of the live bands, if you could put together a live band of some of the most memorable or your favorite musicians of that traveled in Southern gospel music, who would you have as an all-star lineup?
Probably Anthony Berger on the piano.
Mm-hmm.
Either Jack Smith of the Happy Goodmans or Scotty Sanders of the Hensons on the steel. When it comes to touring players, hands down, Adam Borden on the bass.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh yeah.
Drums, maybe Rick Goodman.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He was solid.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to the utility guys, I would have to, without a doubt, say Bruce Watkins.
Yes.
And you're probably going like, now, who in the world is Bruce Watkins?
I've heard that name, but refresh my memory, please. Yeah.
Well, he was with the Hemp Hill live band in the 70s.
Ah, yes.
And he ended up being one of the most in-demand session players in Nashville for 3 decades.
Wow.
I'm saying if it came out of Nashville from about the late 70s through the early to mid 2000s, Bruce Watkins was on the record, period. Yeah. And I don't care what kind of music you're talking about or group you're talking about or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
He's on the record. And just a great acoustic player, fiddle player, banjo player extraordinaire. And he's my utility guy without hesitation.
Yes, that's right.
So that's a pretty good band. I think I've pretty well connected all the dots there together.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's a very good lineup. Yes, sir. As far as band
goes. Did I say lead guitar?
Add one in there. Yeah, let's add one.
I think I missed lead guitar. I think I'd probably have to go to Kelly Back.
Yeah.
And Kelly played with the Hensons in Gold City.
Yeah.
And he's a session player here in town. Matter of fact, I'm producing an album he's playing on day after tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. I'll mention this too. the last interview I did with David Owen, the original bass player for Karen Peck and New River.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know the story, but he told the story of how Eldridge Fox mentioned to Karen about a kid in Asheville, North Carolina named Brian Sutton.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I forgot about Brian.
And I didn't know the story. Have you heard the story? Yeah.
No, give it. I think I have, but give it to me. Remind me.
Well, Eldridge called her and said, "Hey, there's this kid up here, a very good guitarist and also mandolin and maybe banjo or whatever," and told him about him. And he said, "Well, basically, if you don't hire him, I'm gonna hire him, but be a part of the Kingsmen." But Karen hired him, and look at him now. I mean, he played with them for a couple of years and just went on from there, and just one of the best acoustic guitar players ever. You know?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And everything else too.
Yeah.
Now, see, I forgot about his time with Karen because he's been away from it so many years, decades.
Yeah.
But no, I got to take. Boy, I don't know. I just got to throw him into the band.
Yeah.
He and Bruce can figure out what instruments that the two of them want to play on whatever song, and I'm going to be good to go.
That's
but
right.
when it comes to acoustic guitar, Brian Sutton is the winner. Period.
Yeah. And like I said, I did not know that. I mean, goodness, that's pretty neat how you got started. You got to start basically in Southern gospel music. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he plays literally around the world.
Yeah.
Around the world with the top musicians.
Yeah.
In bluegrass and country, and I mean, he plays the biggest stadiums, on and on and on and on. And you know what? Just a great guy too.
Yeah. Kind of reminds you a little bit about Mark Fain, how he got his start and just went from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another one. Mark plays all around the world.
Yeah.
Plays with everybody, and
that's right.
Let me tell you, when it comes to Southern gospel music, instrumentally as well as vocally.
Yes.
Best musicians, best singers in the world.
That's right.
All fields of music can't be touched.
Yep. That's right. That's
Greatest.
Right. That's right. And I'll mention this little hint too. If nothing happens, hopefully in the next few weeks or so, we're going to get James Gordon Freeze on here. I reached out to him, and super nice guy.
Yeah.
I watch YouTube videos of all time him playing live with the Hempfields. What he's doing on that Fender jazz bass is like goodness, you know.
Oh yeah, nice guy.
Oh yeah, super nice guy. But hopefully, I'll just drop that in there as well. If nothing happens, we'll have him in the next few weeks. But yes, sir. Goodness. Well, Mr. Les, I appreciate your time tonight. I appreciate you talking about your history. I knew I had to get you on here. I know you're one of the most knowledgeable guys in all Southern gospel music about this history of this great music, but also a great musician, about everything I've ever seen video-wise, and seen you in person one or two times play very well, and also a great preacher as well. I remember this was back before COVID, I know. Bob Sellers was with y'all, the Old Time Preachers Quartet, Adam Borden, Tim Owens, and Mike Holcomb and yourself. You'll come down on a Sunday morning down to below Valdosta, nearby on the Florida line at Exit 2 down there at Clyateville, Georgia. They may call it, well, maybe a little further than that, but Victory Baptist. And y'all was there. Y'all sung that morning, and then I was there, and I was taking basic guitar lessons from Adam Borden at that time via FaceTime. But I went that Sunday morning and also got to hear Mr. Les Butler preach, and he did a fantastic job preaching that morning too. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And
if there's anything good that ever comes out of me, it's not me, it's the Lord. I promise you that.
Well, I tell you was anointed that morning because, you was up there and you really gave your heart, and I appreciated that. That was a good message you preached that morning. And of course, the quartet did a great job as well singing too, but yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you ever get the chance to hear Les Butler preach, do that. You won't regret it. You'll be blessed. I promise you for sure.
You're very kind. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, everyone, this has been episode 16, the Behind the Music podcast, where our very special guest, Mr. Les Butler, this evening. Go out, download the app, Real Southern Gospel Radio app. Download it. I promise you, if you like Southern Gospel music, if you like you said, this the stuff current now with the more of the guitars and that kind of flavor sound, plus the older stuff as well, that I'm a huge fan of, you'll enjoy that. And he's got little preaching segments on there with different preachers, and I'm telling you, I've heard some great preaching on there as well too. But another just download that app and you won't regret it. I promise you for sure. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah.
I hope I don't run your listeners and viewers away, but I appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight.
A good deal. And if nothing happens, we may have to get him on later and talk a little bit more about what all he knows about Southern gospel music. That'd be great as well too. Yeah.
Happy to do it.
We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Remember to like, rate, and share this podcast. We're also on Facebook as well, Behind the Music Podcast. Like on and follow us on there and share our post as well. We appreciate y'all so much. Thank y'all.
You have been listening to Behind the Music Podcast with your host, Josh Griffin. Tune in next time. And until then, please rate and share this podcast.